now we are on to gessive subjunctives. So gessive, the word, actually comes from one of our Latin words. Our Latin word eubeo, eubere, eusi, eusum. So that one means, if you've forgotten, to bid, order, or command. So that's going to be related to what the gessive subjunctive does. Now, if you take that last principal part, or even the third principal part, eusi, eusum, if we take that first I and turn it into a J, you get something that looks a lot like gessive. So that's where it comes from. A gessive subjunctive is an independent subjunctive, which is different from a purpose clause, which is a dependent subjunctive. And it means that it can stand on its own. So the gessive subjunctive, therefore, serves as the main verb of its sentence. So whereas the purpose clause needs a main verb to go along with it before the ut or the ne, the gessive subjunctive does not. It's going to be the main verb in of itself. So a gessive subjunctive expresses a command, like the verb eubeo, eubere, or an exhortation, meaning an encouragement to do something. So it's telling someone what to do or trying to rally people to do something in particular. This is very similar to an imperative mood, but imperatives are only for the second person. Gessive subjunctives, as we see here in our next line, appear in the first or in the third person. So they kind of fill in the gaps that the imperative doesn't really have. So the imperative is a direct command, you do this. As we'll see, the gessive is more of, let us all do this. So it's still kind of getting that command form in there, but it's a little bit different. So these subjunctives are usually translated let, and then the subject of the sentence. For example, or the subject of the verb, really. Same thing. For example, let me think, or let us do. Those are both first person gessive subjunctives. We could instead have a third person, let him go take a ride. Something like that. That would be a third person gessive subjunctive. They can also sometimes, but less often, be translated may or should. It's a little bit of a weaker gessive subjunctive. We have to kind of depend on context. But for now, we're going to translate all of our subjunctives as let, because that makes it just a little bit easier to begin with. And we actually do this in English quite often, although we usually use a contraction. Let's go to the mall. In Latin, that would be a gessive subjunctive. Like purpose clauses, the negative gessive clause, so if you want to let someone not do something or let us not go to the mall, that would be expressed still using ne at the beginning of the sentence. So this is the distinction. If we have ne in the middle of the sentence, purpose clause. Ne at the beginning of the sentence, gessive subjunctive, negative gessive subjunctive. Everything else about the sentence, though, will stay the same as an indicative sentence. So you can still have direct objects, indirect objects, that sort of thing. Expressed subjects, everything else can stay the same. So that's the intro to the gessive subjunctive. When you're ready, advance on to the next slide and we'll look at some examples of the gessive subjunctive.